Starutations, everyone, and welcome to Critters from Across the Stars, a brand new D&D video series that I've been planning to do for a while now, where I talk about creatures from across the multiverse, how they might work in D&D, and provide you with a fun story hook or two for use in your games. Though, seeing as this is a new video series, and there are those of you who probably don't know who I am, hi, my name is Stella Cosmister. I'm a semi-retired adventurer, full-time VTuber, and dungeon master. If you want to learn a little bit more about who I am and what I do, I invite you to come hang out over at twitch.tv/Stella Cosmister. I'm live 3 days a week, and I'm always happy to meet new folks and learn a little bit more about each other. And with that little intro out of the way, let's get to the meat, or, well, tea of the video. And speaking of tea, the theme for this episode is tea time, which is great because tea is like my favorite drink ever. Nothing quite helps me wind down at the end of the day or restores my stamina like a cup of good tea, some snacks, and cuddling with one of my cats. So get a drink, some snickety snacks, and let's see what kind of critter is doing a skitter. The critter of today's video is none other than Shukaku. Wait, no, not that Shukaku. This Shukaku. Oh, I'm sure Shukaku from Naruto or Boruto would come to mind first for most of us. However, the one-tailed beast is one of many adaptations of the original Shukaku and the legends surrounding him. So let's take a look at that legend before we get too ahead of ourselves. During the Oe era, there lived a priest named Legendary Shukaku. While traveling, he met a fellow priest named Shukaku, our Mujina in disguise. The two became fast friends and traveled together for a time, seeing China and India before finally settling in Tatebayashi in the Gunma Prefecture of Japan, and founded the Morinji Temple together in 1426. After many years of service, Dairine passed away, and Shukaku became head priest, and would remain so for well over a century. In 1570, Morinji Temple played host to an important religious gathering. Priests from all over the country came to visit, and all was well, until the priests came to the realization that they didn't have enough kettles to serve all their guests. A frightening realization without a doubt. There are few things worse than not being able to provide for all your guests as a host. It just feels terrible. And in their case, it was bound to bring shame to their temple. But Shukaku had an idea that would put himself at risk of being discovered. But he loved this temple, his friend's temple. It was then he brought out his tea kettle, the Bunbuku Chagama. And it proved itself to be the miracle the priests needed. This kettle never ran out of water or grew cold, infinitely brewing the tea they needed to serve their guests. And thus, the rest of the gathering went off without a hitch, and the day was saved. Shukaku and his kettle continued to work in service of Morinji Temple for at least another 87 years. Before one of the temple monks walked in on Shukaku asleep and discovered that he was not human. Shukaku had a tail. Shukaku was a Mujina. This was a great shock to everyone in the temple. but not so much that the temple attacked him or anything like that. Shukaku apologized for hiding the truth from them all for so many years. As penance, he decided to leave the temple, but not before sharing stories of his many travels and gifting the temple his beloved tea kettle. And that's where Shukaku's story, at least in this version of the legend, comes to a close. It's never easy leaving something or somewhere you've dedicated such a long time to. And it's not entirely certain where Shukaku goes after the end of the story. But let's just imagine that Shukaku found new adventures and new people to share tea time with. Speaking of tea time, it's time to talk about the sponsor of this video, Sakura Co. Experience Japanese afternoon tea from the comfort of your own home. Enjoy seasonal and authentic Japanese tea and snacks every month. Sourced directly from Japanese local makers. Indulge and discover the best of authentic Japanese snacking with Sakura Co. I'm not sure if I can stress enough how beyond humbled I am that Sakura Co. reached out to me for the sponsorship, and I'm honored to be one of their new affiliates, so thank you again, Sakura Co. You're true stars. Telling stories over tea is something I used to do with family and my more creatively inclined friends growing up, so doing something like this brings me a lot of comfort and nostalgia. My own personal backstory aside, though, I'm sure some of you watching out there are wondering what Sakura Co. is exactly. Well, it's a stellar-themed subscription box service that works with local businesses and communities across Japan to bring their flavor to the rest of the world. As a subscriber of Sakura Co., each month you'll receive a box filled with snacks and tea from various corners of Japan. Not only that, it comes with a cute little booklet that shows you what you get in the box, nutritional facts, allergy information, and teaches you about Japanese culture and local history. I'm a really big sucker for that last point, and it's why Sakura Co. has been my go-to box for the past 2 years. That, and I'm still thinking about the snowball coconut cookie from an Okinawa box from a year or so ago. It was absolutely delightful. But enough about my cravings. The theme for September's box is called Tsukimi, or the Autumn Moon Festival. And for those of us who haven't had the opportunity to experience the Autumn Moon Festival firsthand, I'm going to set a scene that will capture the essence of what this festival's all about. The air is crisp and cool on this autumn night. The moon is full and bright, and it hangs low in the sky like a giant pearl. The stars are out in force, and they twinkle like diamonds. The only sounds: a gentle rustle of leaves, the crackle of a campfire, and the quiet murmurs of a conversation being shared by those around you. You're sitting on a hilltop, surrounded by friends and/or family, overlooking a lake. The lake is perfectly still, and it reflects the moon like a mirror. In the distance, you can see the lights of a city. You take a deep breath of the cool, crisp air and feel at peace. You are surrounded by beauty, and you feel connected to nature. You feel grateful for this moment, and you know that you will never forget it. You close your eyes and listen to the sounds of the night, You hear the wind in the trees, the crickets chirping, and the occasional hoot of an owl. You feel the cool air on your skin and the warmth of the moon on your face. You open your eyes and look at the moon. It's so beautiful, and it fills you with awe. You feel small and insignificant in the grand scheme of things, but you also feel connected to something much larger than yourself. You take another deep breath and savor the moment. No matter how big or small a moment this is for you, you know you'll cherish it for the rest of your life. That is to say that the time of Tsukimi is a time of reflection, to give thanks to the year's harvest, and of appreciating the beauty of the moon, nature, and the connection we have to everything around us. In a way, it's novel, but ubiquitous. As for the September box itself, there is a harvest bounty of goodies in here. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss it. As you saw in my unboxing, I actually took the time to pause and make the hatomugi tea that was provided first before going to town on the full moon cookie, the usagi marshmallow, the full moon soft chew, and the black sesame mochi. The tea was beyond lovely and actually got me feeling kind of drowsy. While the snacks check all the boxes for me, I've always loved cookies and marshmallow treats, so it was a no-brainer that I was going after those first. The soft chew was so well decorated for the type of soft candy that it is that I almost didn't want to eat it. It was so cute. Also, it wasn't too sweet, it was light, and it was just right. You couldn't see it in the video, but I had to keep gently nudging both Ochako and Toko away so they weren't getting into the mochi tray. They are so curious and so adorable and so gluttonous. Now to move on from the tea and snacks, we have the Tsukimi plate. Isn't it so cute? I'm always happy to have another tea time plate around. Thank you for sending this box my way, Sakurako. Seriously. It was stellar. And I'm sure Shukaku would approve of it too. I can't wait to see what October's box has in store though. But for now, let's return to the video. When it comes to giving Shukaku a D&D stat block, or any creature for that matter that isn't already in an existing bestiary, it's important to analyze the key parts of who and what they are. And I normally break that analysis down like so: source material, creature type, alignment and demeanor, power scale, and abilities. The analysis doesn't have to be done in any particular order, mind you, to nail down a stat block, but this is the order we're going to use for this video. For example, we've already covered Shukaku's source material, so let's move on to Shukaku's creature type and work from there. With what we know from Shukaku's legend, I feel pretty comfortable giving Shukaku the celestial creature type with a possible Fey subtype. Or we can make the subtype itself yokai. But why would I put celestial as the primary creature type before yokai? Well, Shukaku served as a priest for quite some time, was loyal to the practices of Morinji Temple, and had been around for quite some time before that. Couple that with a miraculous artifact and a continued reverence for Shukaku at Morinji Temple with a shrine, I feel pretty adamant in this classification. Though you could just as easily swap the two creature types around. All in all, Shukaku seems like a pretty good guy. Friendly, wise, respectable, but kept a secret or two, but who doesn't after all? So I would set his alignment at any good alignment. That said though, you don't really get a good grasp of any kind of power scale that represents Shukaku in this version of the legend, outside of being a magical shapeshifter. But considering the information that we have, the longevity of the legend, including being referenced in shows like Naruto, I would at the very least place Shukaku at the level of a warlock patron based on notoriety alone. CR11 to CR15, let's say, which gives us a lot of wiggle room when designing the stat block. For abilities, the first and most obvious of the bunch is the Mujina's ability to shapeshift. Mujinas are particularly adept at this since they're able to take on the shape of people and objects. Shapeshifters are a personal favorite of mine, so I'm always happy to have another in my arsenal. That said, it wouldn't be all that shocking if they were adept in the conjuration and illusion schools of magic too, with a little sprinkling of healing spells in the mix. This would make Shukaku a shape-shifting spellcaster of some kind who is strong enough to be a patron to a warlock of the Archfey or Celestial archetypes. They might even have a cleric or two. With the analysis out of the way, here's the stat block I had in mind. There will be a link to my Patreon in the video description or comments where you can download the stat block for yourself for free. Shukaku is quite the interesting individual from a very, very beloved story. So the story hooks need to evoke that same kind of endearment. And I think I might have one, though it's more long form and could be used as a sort of bookend, either for the campaign itself or the beginning and end of an arc. On a particularly cloudy afternoon, as the party is traveling over a mountain pass and looking for a place to settle down for the evening, they happen upon a group of bandits attacking a carriage. The only survivors seem to be a traveling monk and a woman who were in the passenger carriage itself, and they're currently surrounded. The monk seems to have knocked out a couple of bandits, but was caught off guard and is paralyzed in some way. This is where the party comes in, to swoop in and save the day. Hopefully. I know not all parties are like that, but they're here to save the day. If the party is successful in saving the pair, the two will join them on their way to the next town. If the party is unsuccessful, the monk and the woman will be taken to a nearby mountain bandit encampment. The party will notice that these bandits are being especially careful with the pair, remarking to not scuff them up too much, which means, through failure, a side quest has been unlocked. Either way, after the two are saved, the party will discover that the monk's name is Shukaku, and the woman's name is Helena. Shukaku found Helena on the run, and he wanted to ensure that she would arrive safely in her beloved Ilium's arms. It's been a rough journey for them. Helena's wealthy father has forbade the relationship between these two star-crossed lovers and has been sending all kinds of retrieval parties the weeks that the two have been traveling together. The most recent group was smart and brought some kind of magical dagger that was laced with paralytic poison and slashed him with it. This is a point where you can have the party roll an insight check, a DC you feel is appropriate, because Shukaku is lying when he's talking about the poison. In fact, it was a cold iron dagger, bathed in moonlight, which is especially effective against shapeshifters like Shukaku. If anyone succeeds, they'll get a sense that Shukaku is concealing something, and that he has this magical twinkle about him. But he's also not hiding something out of malice, but rather for his own safety. If everyone fails, continue the interaction as you would. Later that evening, before bed, Shukaku will call the party to the fire. Not because there's something wrong, but because he wishes to share tea with them. This would be a good time to address Shukaku about what he's concealing now that Helena is asleep, but Shukaku's primary reason for this is to get to know the party. He will ask them 2 to 3 campfire questions each, and I recommend making a list of at least 20 questions, depending on how big or small your party is. Questions that make them think in character in ways that they probably haven't. It's a good opportunity to build in-character bonds, rapport, and attachment, as well as endear the party to Shukaku. Once each member of the party has had a chance to answer a question or the group has spent time drinking tea together, Shukaku will be satisfied and will thank the party for humoring him. That their kindness will be rewarded properly someday soon. With a friend made, the party goes to bed and then continues to the next town or outpost at the pace they choose, where the party and Shukaku will go their separate ways. The party at this point is unaware that they've been blessed by Shukaku after drinking his tea. As a result, they each gain a tea token, and whenever they would reach 0 hit points or die, your choice, they would be shown a vision of the night they shared with Shukaku. All of them are smiling and laughing, but they would see Shukaku for who and what he really is. A Mujina, a friend. As a warmth emboldens them to get back up and keep on fighting. Later in the campaign, if the party finds themselves at a monastery or a temple to a god of life, they'll discover that Shukaku is the head monk or priest. Shukaku wishes to bestow favor upon the party and will offer himself as a patron of sorts in the temple as an aid in their cause. This can include magic items, money, but most of all, a divinely blessed tea kettle that never runs out of tea and never runs cold. While it might not confer the same death-defying blessing as Shukaku's personal kettle, it'll provide the party with an endless source of warm beverages and will be a nod to their experience with Shukaku earlier in the game. All Shukaku asks in return is that the party joins him for tea every once in a while, to tell him their tales of daring do. A pretty sweet deal, all things considered, if you ask me. And there we have it. So, what are we thinking about Shukaku and this adaptation of them into D&D? If you think there's something I could have approached better, I'm always happy to take feedback in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like and following me for more content like this. It would really mean a lot. All of that said, I have some more tea to sip and reading to do. So until next time, may the stars forever light your way, travelers. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.